Today's class is called
the preciousness of the true transmission of Tao.
Right, exactly. Essentially, it's the class that Lecture Tai had presented about 2 years ago, and it was titled "Extraordinary Unmatched Tao Tradition." Well, basically it's the same thing. Okay, now the class will be over an hour, so therefore we will end it around like 40 to 50 minutes before the end of the class, and so this way we can put this use the second week or the second half the next week to present the rest of the presentation. And also there's some translations or videos, so therefore it will probably be presented in the second half of this presentation.
Mercy to Grand Predecessor, transmitting masters, and lectures, and everyone here today for this opportunity to talk about the extraordinary and, well, I say also unmatched Tao tradition. Tradition might think it's not exactly the right word, because here so the Chinese title is 一貫真傳, okay, the殊勝. Okay, so 殊勝, yeah, you can say it's extraordinary, it's unmatched, it's very rare. Okay, 真傳 is, you can say it's like a true, an authentic teaching or authentic, genuine transmission. We can say lineage, things like that. Okay, and then 一貫, well, yeah, it was really talking about 一貫 Tao. Okay, so the all-pervading Tao, right? So, but yeah, tradition, I just try to, I don't want the title to be too long. So I just say tradition, just like in any kind of practice or like religions, they have their own a tradition, right? The tradition includes, yeah, it's the lineage, right? The transmission and also the practice, right? The teachings, the practice, everything. Okay, so, all right. Okay, so this, the Tao tradition, right? So it's the lineage or transmission of heaven's mandate and the true teaching of the Tao, right? So yeah, so the important thing about the Tao, and you know, we talk about the Tao, the difference between Tao and religions. There's this thing called the heaven's mandate, and this is what's passed down or transmitted, okay, over the ages. Since the beginning, well, since you can say since the first patriarch. Okay, so we've talked about the patriarchs of Tao in the title. I think the topic was called the Masters of Tao. I don't know, maybe it was last year or something. But okay, so that's really the important thing, that you know, how that gets passed down. So we're not talking about how that gets done, but you know, but that's the important thing in the Tao, and the Tao transmission, this heaven's mandate. Without this heaven's mandate, then it's just, you're just passing down, you know, books, you know, it could be scriptures or whatever, but that's just getting passed down along with the teachings. And but that's not the mandate. Okay, mandate is something else. All right, so and without a mandate, then that's all you have is just teachings, and that's what we call religion. Okay. Because they don't have that kind of they don't have this particular mandate from heaven, right? So, all right. So now there was a saying, right? All roads lead to Rome, right? This is back in the days of the Roman Empire. But so basically, now all religions, they all say, you know, the objective is to go to heaven, right? So you can say that all religious practices, they say, well, that practicing in their religion gets you to heaven, right? But from our point of view, from the Tao, we know that, well, religion, this heaven is not really the heaven, okay? So this is really an intermediate destination, if you will, they're what they call this heaven, okay? Now, I mean, actually, the original intent is, yeah, the heaven that we talk about, that, you know, you can say absolute heaven, but in practice, the religions, can only get you to this, this is an intermediate heaven. Okay, so there's actually a further destinations, which is the destination, right? So because theirs is this temporary heaven or celestial heaven, whereas the Tao gets you all the way to transcend the cycle of birth and death, right? The absolute heaven. So that's really what we want. And that's really the original intent of what the religions, or you can say the founders of the religions, that's what they want to get us, the sentient beings, people to get to the absolute, to transcend birth and death. But, without this mandate, without this heaven's mandate, then, that's not possible, right? We need now in the beginning, yes, there are you can say the practitioners, the cultivators in those religions at the very beginning, when those founders are there, Buddha, Lao Tzu, Confucius, or Jesus, for example. I mean, some of them were able to, because Jesus, for example, he had the mandate as well, and so he could, pass on that, transmit essentially the Tao to them, and they can also reach, transcend the cycle as well. But later on, it's just it just becomes a regular kind of religious practice and tradition without heaven's mandate, and then people can only get to this, what we call this temporary heaven. All right, so that's just becomes an intermediate point, and this is still within the cycle of birth and death. So so that's why we need this Tao, which is the way to transcend, actually. Now, it doesn't mean that we necessarily have to start, like in this life, we don't necessarily have to be practicing some religion and then to get to the Tao. Okay, so this is just, right now, because we already have this affinity, maybe from past lives, we've been perhaps practicing in some religious tradition before, and we've accumulated, merits, established a good foundation in our virtues, so that we are able to have that affinity today to receive the Tao. And because the Tao is now available to everyone, that we're able to receive the Tao. And then so now, what's so special, I guess you can say, what's so extraordinary about the Tao is that we can now transcend cycle of birth and death. All right. So, if we have this affinity, then why not take the quickest route, right? By receiving and cultivating Tao to reach the final destination of transcending birth and death, right? Instead of pursuing the religious practices, which is still won't get you all the way to point C. And we still eventually have to go through the Tao, okay? And so religions, they all want to get to that final destination, but it goes through the Tao, all right? And that's, obviously they don't know that, okay? But religion, of course, is helpful to establish a foundation and affinity, right, for people to be able to receive the Tao. Right, because without that, it's kind of the Tao is necessary to transcend, to receive the Tao, but religions are also, you can say they're necessary, a prerequisite to getting to the point of receiving the Tao in the first place. But this has to do with the timing of the green, the red, and the white era. So the white era right now, hopefully, we've already in the past, in the red era and the green era, past few thousand years, that we've been, in these religions, we've been practicing, we've been cultivating, and now in this white era, this Tao is available. So, and we have that sufficient foundation and affinity to receive the Tao, right? So that's very special. So, but today there's still, obviously there are, the vast majority of people, they still don't know about Tao. and they're still in religions, and you can say that maybe they don't have a sufficient affinity yet to be able to receive the Tao, right? Or enough of a foundation yet. So, everyone is on different points on that timeline, so to speak, on that path towards, eventual transcending the cycle of birth and death, right? Because, Buddha says, all sentient beings eventually will attain Buddhahood. Yeah, I mean, it's just a question of when, right? So, all right, so yeah, so the religions, again, it's important so that we can have that foundation. Receiving the Tao and cultivating Tao takes us to the highest level, though. All right, so although we hear that there are saints from religious practice who are uplifted to absolute heaven, right, the key is that they have the affinity, right? Without that affinity, there would be no chance for that to happen. So you hear stories of people who they have let's say virtues, or they have a lot of merits in life, and as a result, but they didn't receive the Tao, and as a result, they become you could say a deva, right? Basically, a saint in temporary heaven, but then they can be uplifted further to actually transcend. Okay, and this can be done by potentially it could be done by a Buddha or Bodhisattva, right? They can do that, or it could be by a human, right? Just like we can uplift our parents, for example, deceased parents. Okay, same idea, but the only way for that to happen is they have to have that affinity with those people, right? And if without that affinity, it's nearly impossible. Okay, so then they would have to, hope that when they are reborn in the world, that they are born in the right place and time, with having the affinity with the whoever, that they can be able to receive the Tao. But that's difficult, right? Okay. Oh, yeah, plus, right. So religions, it takes many lifetimes, right, to even potentially get to that point. I mean, they can get to point B, potentially in one lifetime, okay. But to get to the point where they can receive the Tao, right, have that affinity, have that foundation, it'll take many lifetimes. And then for us, because we have that affinity already, we have that sufficient foundation to be able to receive the Tao, we can actually transcend in this one lifetime. We have to put in the effort, though. We have to work at it. We have to cultivate, right? If we don't cultivate, then it's nothing comes for free, right? Nothing is free. So we have to put in the effort to achieve, right? If we don't put in the effort, we're not going to achieve. Right? I mean, it's true that, yes, having received the Tao, and if we don't do anything really bad, yes, we can kind of go to heaven, but it's temporary. It's still temporary, okay? And in the next kalpa, or the next cycle, we will still have to come back to the world and be born again in the world. It's only if we have sufficient merits and virtue that we can actually transcend and essentially become like a bodhisattva or a Buddha, which they don't have to be reborn unless they want to, right, to fulfill a vow. So again, yeah, we have to put in the work. Otherwise, it's just temporary. Okay, so Holy Teacher says, yeah, 10,800 years. That would be the most that we can get if we don't have sufficient merits, right? So yeah, we have to work on it, right? And this the Tao being so extraordinary, so precious, that's why even these monks, right? The monks, you think, well, monks, they probably are better, well, they are, you could say, they are probably better cultivated than most people are, even for people in the Tao. But, you know, yet they still have to receive the Tao. Okay. The I guess the over 200-year-old monk that was in Thailand, you know, Buddhist monk, who received the Tao, and then I don't know, this is some other place that some other Buddhist monks receiving the Tao. So yeah, because again, you know, in religious practice, they realize it's gonna take many lifetimes to actually get to the becoming like a Buddha. So, but receiving the Tao is the quickest way, especially right now when it is available. And then, so, you know, you also have nuns, you know, Christian nun here, and then other people. So this Tao is not, I mean, it's you can say it was kind of like maybe a Chinese tradition. Well, it was also in India too, but it's for everyone now, because this is the time of universal salvation, right? So people the world over, as long as they have that affinity. So obviously, you know, these monks and, you know, the nun, they're not attached to the forms. They're not so attached to to the, I don't know, the doctrines of their religions that says, oh, you know, that this is, you know, you have to believe in their doctrine and follow their doctrine completely. But so they have that, yeah, you could say maybe the wisdom as well, you know, the affinity and the wisdom to be able to go beyond, break through that, and to receive the Tao. So it's good for them. Okay. All right. You know, there's clearly, you know, there's one way, right? So there's only this one way, which is the Tao. So why do people not cultivate, though? You know, it's yeah, even, you know, don't even talk about the other people who haven't received the Tao, but people who have received the Tao, right? How many are actually cultivating? Okay. You know, you can say that people don't know the preciousness of Tao and just how extraordinary it really is, right? You know, you know, religions, there are many religions, right? But the Tao, there's only one Tao, right? Now, obviously, it's hard. It's kind of hard to explain to people. Say, well, this Tao is so precious. Yeah, you know, you can't do it in 5 minutes, and try to, you know, persuade or convince people that, wow, this is, yeah, the Tao is something that they really want. I mean, yeah, we say, you know, just like the last topic we talked about, why we must receive the Tao. When you say, yeah, all these good things, we can transcend, but then they believe the same thing in their religion. That they believe that that's what they can get, that can happen to them too. So it's yeah, that's not an easy thing to, you know, try to convince people of that. If they're really stuck on their particular practice or particular doctrine teachings, then it's, you know, it's hard. Okay. Now, you know, so people, you know, because they don't know how precious, they don't know how to cultivate, so therefore they really don't take advantage of the benefits of Tao. Okay, they don't get the benefits. You know, it's really comes from this process of transformation, what we call cultivation, right? Basically, just like, you know, it's like I said, nothing comes for free, right? It's not like you receive the Tao and then we're good to go, we can go to heaven, and we can stay, right? We have to put in the effort. It's just, we have to transform ourselves first. So that's one of the things, excuse me, when we talk about cultivation, right? We can say the inner cultivation, the cultivating of the self, which is a process of transformation, transforming ourselves, okay? Just like, well, okay, yeah, transforming ourselves into someone better, right? So first, you know, it's like we have to recognize that we have an ego, right? We have biases, we have subjectivity, we have attachments, all these things. And but we also have to recognize that we also have this true self, the true nature, okay, the Buddha nature. And that should have none of those things. And so we have to transform from being that human that human nature into that Buddha nature, right? And only we can do that for ourselves. Nobody can do it for us. And not even the Buddha can do that for us. Okay, so this is a personal effort. We have to, an individual effort we must do in order to achieve, in order to make that transformation. So it's just like, it's just like in nature, right? You have, how do you get charcoal? It has to be transformed from the wood, right? You kind of go through some chemical process of burning and whatever to turn it into charcoal, right? Or, you can, another, kind of analogy would be like gold ore, right? Gold ore. When you dig up the gold ore, it's like this rock that contains some gold in it. And to extract, you have to smelt it to extract the gold from the rock, right? Then it goes through a process of trying to removing other impurities so that you try to achieve, pure gold. And so the same thing with humans, for us cultivators, that's what we're trying to do, right? To transform ourselves from being a sentient being, you can say an ignorant sentient being, a delusional sentient being, into one who is awakened, enlightened, okay? And that is really the difference between a sentient being and a bodhisattva or a Buddha, okay? So, so it's not, cultivation is not superficial, right? Many people are misinformed when they think that receiving the Tao is all they need to do, okay? That's just like, you paint a rock, right, with gold paint, and you say, hey, this rock is now, it's solid gold, right? Obviously that's not the case. We cannot just acquire a label, say, oh, I've received the Tao, I'm a Tao kin. We have to live up to it, right? Live up to that, being someone who had received the Tao, a cultivator, right? If we expect to be able to transcend birth and death and become a Buddha, then we must go through the cultivation process to transform ourselves from a sentient being into a Buddha or Bodhisattva, someone who's awakened and enlightened, right? So this is, and there's no exception, right? Everyone has to go through that process. Okay. So, all right. So yeah. So what's extraordinary about the Tao? I mean, it's it's very rare, okay, because there is only one Tao, whereas you have all sorts of religions. It is unmatched and unsurpassed, okay? So, I mean, on the surface, maybe if for those who are, you can say, not as well informed, they might look at the Tao and see the practice, the teachings and stuff, and they say, well, it's no different than religion, right? But it really is rare. Again, it's that heaven's mandate. Heaven's mandate, unfortunately, we cannot see it directly, okay? But, it manifests itself, all right? So, obviously, the Tao is the source of all things, right? So, therefore, its preciousness is innumerable. In other words, everything in the universe is the result of the Tao, is because of the Tao. And so we can say, wow, we can point to all of nature as saying, wow, so this is why Tao is so amazing, right? And, basically, this is, I'm kind of borrowing this from Amy, but this is showing that, the Tao, starting with the 0 and the 1, basically the Tao is the 0 and the 1, okay? It's not just the 0, but it's basically, you can say like essence and function, okay? So, or stillness and motion, all right? So these two, it produces then the yin and yang, the duality, and then from there you get the three, which is then the myriad things. It produces everything. So this, if you look at nature, this is the process. This is how it came about. So everything is following those principles, those laws of nature, and those were derived from, you know, from this process here, or from the original, you can say, the one truth, and everything else is created as a result. Okay. So, and as a human being, right, we are also a microcosm of the Tao and the universe, right? Because we have that Tao essence, right, the Buddha nature, and we can create anything, right? Even life. Now, of course, that's not necessarily just because we are human, but, you know, all sentient beings, or, you know, anything that has the qualities, I guess, for having life can, you know, create life. But that's, yeah, it is because of the Tao, right? Okay. So what is so extraordinary, the Tao, the transmission of Tao, right? So receiving Tao is the process of getting rid of the false and manifesting the true. Okay, so this is something that we have to kind of figure out to learn. Okay, so obviously when we receive the Tao at first, we probably don't realize all these things, but yeah, you know, then we learn that, oh, geez, you know, all this material stuff is false, and you know, all these things that we think is, that we enjoy, that we pursue, we say, oh, this is all false. But yeah, I mean, yeah, okay, it's false in a certain sense, okay, in the sense of, or in the context of the Tao, yes, or in context, yeah, of the Tao, of our Buddha nature, yeah, these things are all false, right? But of course, when we are still here, yes, we make use of it. All right. Now, so the true, manifesting the true. So it's, again, this, you can also say that the false is kind of what's on the surface, the superficial stuff, right? The true is what's true, is the genuine article, the true stuff that's inside. Okay, so inside of us, that's our true nature, our Buddha nature, right? And it manifests through the conscience, and it manifests through our virtues. All right, so that is what's, and through our sincerity, okay, and that is what's true, right? And so that's part of, you know, this transmission that will kind of let us know that it's pointing to that our true nature, our true self. Okay, and it's also, so we talk about the, you know, extraordinariness of the truth of the Tao principles and the heaven's mandate, right? We had talked about this before, and, you know, there's the point transmission by the enlightened master, right? And that's really, you know, the grand predecessor once said that the only the point transmission, you know, is the Tao, right? Everything else is religion, or, you know, say teaching and practice, right? So when we receive the Tao, receive that point transmission, opening up the portal, right? Heavenly portal, opening up our third eye, opening up our wisdom eye, that is the Tao, okay? That point, that transmission right there. And that is really the Tao. Everything else is kind of, and that you know, it's, although you see kind of, you know, it's kind of like a form, right, going on, but of the whole ceremony, but it's invisible, this point transmission, and it's conducted, it's really, you know, holy teacher Jigong Buddha who is doing that spiritually. We don't see it, right? And that is really the essence of the Tao right there, right? So everything else is kind of ancillary to it. Okay, it's kind of the forms, all right. And then so that's, we get the Dharma, what we call the Dharma, the three treasures, right? When we receive the Tao. So that is really the key. You can say that is what's being passed down, right, over the ages through the Tao, in this Tao lineage, Tao tradition. Right? I mean, the three treasure itself is not. I mean, you can say that there's forms, right? It's you can say it's knowledge, but actually, so it's that first treasure, right? That point transmission is really the key. And then, okay, so we also have the lineage, or the true transmission of heaven's mandate. All right, so it's from patriarch to patriarch passed down until now we have, the transmitting masters who can give us this point transmission, right? So that's because of that mandate that we still have. Okay, and so at the moment of that point transmission, you can say our root to this world, right? Our root in this world is severed, right? We enter into the ultimate existence of non-birth and purity. Okay, yeah, and so the saying goes, right? When the 6 roots are purified, it is the way, or the Tao, right? So the 6 roots, right? The roots of our 6 senses, right? These are rooted in this world, right? Rooted in forms. Okay, so we have to cut that off, get rid of that, right? So that's why we say, let go of, relinquishment, let go of everything, let go of attachment, let go of these forms. Okay, don't become attached to these forms. And then we basically, when we do that, then we return back to our true nature, our true self. Okay. Right, so the enlightened master with heaven's mandate, right, he undertakes the responsibility of establishing this golden thread, this true transmission and lineage of the Tao, the continuity of heaven's mandate that transmits the unsurpassed true tradition of the mind Dharma, right, receiving the mandate from God, pointing out the door of life and death in sentient beings, the truth or the true reality of life, and liberating sentient beings from the cycle of birth and death. So that's why, this what's so extraordinary, so unsurpassed about the Tao transmission. And of course, right now we are in this time of, period of universal salvation of not universal salvation, meaning all humans who have the affinity can receive the Tao right now while the Tao is available, and also the 3 realms. Well, the 3 realms, of course, means the human realm, the human world, plus the Deva, the celestial, the temporary heaven saints, right? The Devas realm, and also the underworld. Okay, so again, now for the spirits in the underworld to attain salvation, again, it's through basically their descendants, okay, like us, for example, our deceased ancestors. Okay, they're likely to be in the underworld, and only because we receive the Tao and we cultivate, then they benefit. All right, so and then hopefully they can also achieve salvation if we ourselves can attain that salvation. Right. Right. So okay. Yeah, right. So this is why this universal salvation is very precious as well during this time, because it's a once in a world cycle. You can say it's a small kalpa, right? 129,600 years. This opportunity comes about, right? And humans have been around basically for about 60,000 years. This is down here. It's like it's 6 o'clock. It's the beginning of the world cycle, and then getting around to the 8 o'clock period. This humans are come about, and so since then it's been about 60,000 years. We're over here now around 1 o'clock, and this is according to the cycle, we're already past the halfway, so we're already in decline here. Things are in decline, and therefore this is kind of like the harvest period. So this universal salvation, that's why we have universal salvation. I mean, it didn't happen earlier because, earlier it would have been, things are still in developing, right? But now we're in decline. The world, everything is in decline, and therefore it's approaching the end. In the end, things are going to kind of be destroyed. So that's why this universal salvation exists right now, and because of God's mercy and also the mercy of the Buddhas, especially Maitreya Buddha, that this is an opportunity that we cannot be missed, right? Because if we miss it, we have to wait at least another full cycle, right? 129,600 years, roughly. Okay, so we all, assuming we've all received the Tao now, we should do our best to cultivate and to be able to transcend this cycle, right? That's the goal.
Yeah, when you see the picture that's on the previous slide, basically that's the slide over here. Okay, yeah, I mean, yes, it is true that Buddhist also has referenced the fact that we started sort of like in the 8 o'clock position, and and right now we're in the sort of like the 1 o'clock position. Okay, because after all, the red part, basically the Sanfu Yins, I mean the Sanfu Yin, the time of the three Buddhas. That's the Buddhas from the green, red, and now the white. Okay, so. Now, first of all, you read the descriptions on the on the part of the cycle, but yeah, it's really well, it's not really exactly what they're saying. It's the fact that between the 3 o'clock position, okay, that's over here, okay, and then to the 8 o'clock position, it just means the fact that the environment is not really conducive for humans to be about. Okay, so now it's because after all, when you look at science, okay, because after all, science has already said that Homo sapiens sapiens, or modern man, okay, has been around for about like over 200,000 years. Okay, so therefore now we are that's so therefore we have already been in this cycle for more than one time. All right, and so therefore the fact that you have sort of like the creation of the atmosphere, creation of earth, creation of mankind really means the fact that the man begins to come about the environment is more conducive to mankind, so therefore they begin to flourish. So therefore so from the 8 o'clock position to right now the 1 o'clock position, I guess I'll call it the 1 o'clock position. Okay, basically you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, well, beginning of the 6th, 1 o'clock is beginning of the 6th, and that's when we have been around. Now, it's not to say that, oh, we went around between the creation of the atmosphere, creation of the earth. No, of course, we have been around at this time. It's just the fact that I mentioned that from the 3 o'clock position to the 8 o'clock position, the environmental conditions are not really that conducive for humankind. Okay, and so therefore, on the opposite side, you see the 2 o'clock position that it says destruction of mankind, destruction of Earth, destruction of the atmosphere. Again, same thing. It's basically just the fact that it will be the humankind will decline, so to speak, in terms of the population or the global population of the world, and so therefore they are beginning to decline. To have less people, so to speak. Okay, and then of course, then you have the destruction of the earth, destruction of the atmosphere. It just means the fact that there are there's other factors that will allow humankind to be not be able to live I guess you could say, still humans will still live, but it's that the environment will still be less conducive for humankind to live in. And of course, the 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock is the cosmic chaos. It just means the fact that there's a lot of things that will events that can happen. Okay, so anyway, that's just a brief rundown, because after all, these periods of time are based on what's called it was during the red period that a Buddhist monk believe calculated all this stuff, and so therefore that's how he came about to the time. Because in the old days we have what's called the 12-hour, or not 12-hour, 12 2-hour periods. Because after all, right now we have what's called the 24 hours in a day. Okay, but technically it's not really 24 hours. It's really 24 hours plus a couple of seconds. Okay, anyway, because of the moon effect of the moon. So therefore, in the old days, we when you look at old movies, basically they're talking about 12 period days, and this called the first period, second period, etc. And basically those are equivalent to 2 hours. And then when you multiply that by the number of days in a month, because after all, in the lunar month, they only have 30 days. But then, of course, in the solar month, they have sometimes 28 up to, or 29 up to 31. So therefore, they're sort of like trying to correct for the total time of the year. So in the lunar calendar, basically, they each month has 30 days, but sometimes they have more than one lunar month, because after all, it's sort of like equivalent to like 13 lunar months. Okay, so because of the 30-day period. And so when you go from 12 multiplied by 30 is what? 30 days in a lunar month. And then 12 times 30 is 360 days, which is equivalent to so much of the year. Now, of course, like I said, the lunar month has basically more than 12 months. Okay, all right. And then of course, from 360 or a year times another 30 is what? 10,800 years. So basically that's equivalent to the 12 periods that's over here. Okay, so each period has 10,800 years. And the whole cycle is 30 times 12, which is what? 129,600 years. So that's where you get the time scale that we have. Okay, so anyway, just a digression. So right now you have a better understanding of what the periods are, for each. Like I said, the green was the first period, and it was like 1,500 years, and then the red starting from I don't know, roughly 500 BC to up to about 3,000. Well, it was 3,000 years. So basically, that was up to 2,500 years. And then, of course, we begin to start the white. So the white period, of course, is 10,800 years. Okay. All right. Okay. Anyway, so we'll just continue with the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, so, right, in the past, it was basically, people first have to cultivate, and then they can receive Tao. Right? But now we can receive the Tao first, and then we can cultivate. Okay, so again, the timing is different. So you can say that the practice is different as well. I've said this before, that, we can't be stuck on those practices in the past, or the traditions. I mean, things are different now, right? Okay. So the three, okay, so I mentioned the 3 realms can attain salvation, right? So everyone now, basically, male and female. In the past is mostly male, but today it seems to be mostly female. Okay, so can participate in Tao propagation and cultivation and achieve or transcend according to their own virtues and merits. Okay, again, it's all depending on ourselves. Okay, their own virtues and merits. So we can't like rely or depend on, say, oh, my parents, they're cultivators or they're transmitters, and therefore I can just ride their coattails into heaven. It's not like that. We have to kind of establish our own virtues and merits. Okay. And okay, so what's special, right? Also, that there's Buddhas and saints are supporting the Tao, right? The propagation, transmission of the Tao, and basically, so this is like, you may have seen this before, the diagram showing various the Buddhas and saints, and this is like in a temple in a Dharma class. Okay, so, and you have all this stuff going on. Now, I mean, this is the spiritual side of things that most people don't see, but this person did see. This is what that person saw. Okay, and so that's how it was described. Basically, what's special in the Tao? There's channeling by the Buddhas and saints, right? You can say spiritual channeling. One form is through the handwriting that you see down here. This is where the sand, and then they kind of write using that stick. And so this is channeling, the Buddhists, and they have messages, they have revelations to give to us through this. This is one form of the channeling, okay? And so also they can appear in dreams, people's dreams, to let them know, that, hey, they need to, just like, remember, we, one of many examples, right? Was it the pastor who received the Tao? He had that dream. It was basically Jigong Buddha gave him this dream to let him know about the Tao, right? And so obviously that doesn't happen to everyone. It depends on the person's affinity. So, and so we're, we're not all going to have these types of dreams, right? And then also there miracles happen. Okay, there are many, stories of people in situations, in disasters, situations where they escape, or somehow survive, or maybe they were because maybe they had cancer, some serious cancer, and they managed to, it goes into remission. It's gone because of, basically, you can say it's help from the Buddhas, but it's really, they make a vow, right? They make a great vow, and they start fulfilling their vow to perform merits, to propagate the Tao or whatever, and then the cancer went away. Okay, so this is what's so special about the Tao. I mean, in religion's practice, they might have some miracles. Some might even have some kind of spiritual channeling type of thing, but really the Buddhas are really just helping the Tao, okay? Those who receive the Tao, and if we are sincere about cultivating, then they are there to help, okay? And, and also to help in propagating the Tao, etc. Now, cultivating in daily life, right? So unlike in the past, we now can cultivate in everyday life, right? There's no need to shave our head, no need to become like a monk. Again, that's the past, the practice in the past, in the green and the red period. But now we're in the white era, so we don't need to do that. So that's what makes also partly make it a little bit more special, right? We don't have to give up our career and family even, right? So we don't have to do that. We don't have to go off in the monastery, go off to the mountains to cultivate. We just do it at home, and also in society, just in everyday life, right? So while we're fulfilling our responsibilities of our mundane roles that we have, right? So whether maybe we work, or we're a student, or we have family, whatever the case, those are our mundane roles in life. We still fulfill those responsibilities, but at the same time, we can cultivate Tao. Okay, so that's that's important, and you can say that's why it makes it, the most convenient method of cultivation and practice. This is Tao. So it's right. So we don't have to become like a monk. So that's, and this is also, so that's why it should make it easier for people to cultivate. Okay. At the same time, you might say, yeah, sometimes it's harder because we have to face all these things in life, right? But that's, facing situations, facing people in life is, that's a given, right? That's just, everyone has to do that. Okay. So, but if we can cultivate as well, we can also change our mindset, transform ourselves. If, get rid of our bad habits, our bad temper, things like that. And the more we do that, and obviously we have to change our views, okay, our perspectives on things, understand karma, understand the meaning of life. The more we understand, the more we know, the more it will help us in our cultivation as we are able to let go of things, getting rid of those attachments and biases, getting rid of the ego. Okay. All right.
Yeah, sorry. The second half of the presentation will be presented again for next week. Okay. And so therefore, we will end this session right now.